Good evening and welcome to the October 17th, 2018 legislative session of the Town Board. And I'll officially call this meeting to order. I'll ask that everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
Thank you very much. Before we get into our communications and announcements by the board, I'd like to recognize a couple of different individuals. And first, I'd like to ask Councilwoman Cole if she might go to the podium. And I look out and I see our fantastic Penfield Public Librarian, Bernadette Brinkman. And Bunny, if you wouldn't mind coming, or we've got the friends. Okay, so very good. So please, ladies, come forward.
Join me.
And join Councilwoman Cole.
No. Ellen and Carol? Yes. Okay. They told me you'd be the ones coming to receive. Yeah, very good.
Thank you for that.
Well, you know, it's National Friends of the Library Week, so I have a proclamation to read to you, okay? Okay. And then you can take this home.
So Linda, I know Dave's going to say to us, perfect.
Whereas the Friends of the Penfield Public Library raise money that enable our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much-needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the work of the Friends highlight on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in joy of lifelong learning and connect with thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. And whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends' gift of their time, commitment to the library sets an example for all in volunteerism to lead positive civic engagement and betterment of our community. So therefore, be it resolved that our Anthony LaFountain, Supervisor, proclaims October 21st to 28th as Friends of the Library Week in Penfield, New York, and urges everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and community so much better. And this is dated October 17th and signed by our Supervisor, Tony LaFountain. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And would you like to say a few words about, you can say, you can talk about the money you raised
Oh, please.
a little bit?
A little plug for the wonderful
I
library.
heard some last night about how awesome the book sale was.
Oh, the book sale was awesome.
Can you give us a dollar figure? I'm always amazed how much it was raised this year.
We did a little over $30,000. And so it was pretty good. We still had a lot of books left over, so everybody should have come back, bought some more.
And people can
One
still
more bag
donate,
of
right?
books. We're still working on strategies to know how to dispose of all those, because there are a lot of quality ones that get packed up in a truck and go to surplus. I mean, we benefit from the surplus revenue from that, but it's kind of heartbreaking in a way to see that many walk out the door, like what do you call them, the books, tabletop books, coffee table books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. They're beautiful.
Yeah. So it was a good week, but a lot of people came through, so.
Yes, and anybody you see, we encourage them, of course, networking, any other strategies to how we could network and get more people interested in the Friends, but also in volunteering. Volunteering's become a little bit difficult. As you can see by my age, that, we're not attracting all the young ones to help us with volunteer time and, working at the sale even, or anything. I mean, people don't have too much trouble dropping off books.
Yeah, at least
But that's where it kind of ends. So if you have any other strategies, we'd be happy through Linda or whomever
just let us know.
give us some ideas.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Absolutely.
This is a
And just a couple of comments. So, you know, our Penfield Public Library is a great resource for our community. I will tell you that I've had the pleasure here over the last 9 years to work a little closer with the library, to see the quality of the volunteers that are there with the Friends. And Bunny and I talk on an occasional basis about different things, but it's very rare where she doesn't always talk about, or part of our conversation is about the Friends and the work that you do, how much it means to her and to her staff and to the overall operation of the library. So our hats are off to you, all the work that you do. Even though volunteerism seems to be dwindling a little bit, don't get discouraged, keep plugging along, and we're all in it together, and look forward to another wonderful year, because it does make a difference. The money that you raise helps supplement programs in the library that are so very, very important. So thank you for, on behalf of the town and the town board, thank you for everything that you do for the library.
Thank you for recognizing us as well.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks
Good
again.
group, my neighbors, my son's best buddy over there. I tell you, it's a real mixture.
It all fits in. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right. The next individual I'd like to recognize, Nancy Van Appendorn, is with us, and she's got a very important message to discuss about robes for veterans. And Nancy, thank you for being here, and welcome.
Thank you. I met Amy at the golf tournament for the hospice here in Penfield, and I just want you to know, lap robes for veterans, it's not roses. This is like one of our lap robes that we give out at Honor Flight. We've been taking lap robes to Honor Flight now for 7 years. There's 6 flights a year, but what we started out 11 years ago, one lap robe at a time, and has grown. Our motto is SO Many Veterans, SEW Little Time. We are a 501c3 tax exempt through Finger Lakes Area Community Endowment, and they've been gracious so we don't have to change our name on our paper when we pass it out, because it says Lap Robes for Veterans, because if somebody looks it up in the phone book or on the internet, Lap Robes for Veterans comes up first. If it said Finger Lakes Area Community Endowment, we'd be the last one. So, but really, we want to reach as many veterans as we can every year. In 11 years, we've given out 9,000 lap robes. This year, we've already given out 1,115. We have one more honor flight this Sunday, which is going to be an honor. We're giving the lap robes out in honor of Judge Marks, who passed away this year, a very devout Marine, and still served his community as a judge. And also Lee Kaufman, also a Marine that served after being in the service. And what we want to do is we want to thank every veteran. I have people from other states call and say, how do you do this? So I'll let them know. I wish every veteran could receive a lap robe. I will say we're not part of Honor Flight, but if anybody wants to go on an honor flight, a veteran, they need to take and put their name on, and they can go on the internet and do that. Just yesterday, I delivered over 70 lap robes to Lifetime, the hospice program. Vietnam Veterans Chapter 20 years ago started adopting veterans in hospice, and so then and they go through Lifetime, when I found out that there are what I call civilians that also adopt veterans in hospice, we decided we would start taking them right to Lifetime. I can't even begin to tell you how many we give every year to Lifetime. Unfortunately, it's sad to see how many we lose. We take lap robes to the Jewish War. Jewish War veterans at the Jewish home, they deliver, when a new veteran comes in, a lap robe. This Veterans Day, we're going to be at the Fairport nursing home, giving out lap robes to all the veterans there. And at any time, any area asks us to come, if we have the lap robes available, we will give them out to the veterans there. Individuals, you don't have to have gone on an honor flight. You don't have to belong to an American Legion or VFW post. We want to thank our veterans. For nursing homes and hospice, we give out fleece lap robes, and this is just one, branch specific. We trim them, we put an edge on them, we make our own labels that say thank you for your service, created and donated by Lap Robes for Veterans. We provide Gold Star mothers in New York State with a Gold Star mother one. Sometimes the material will change, but the stars do not. It's not their official star, but we still use it. Some of the ones we give out are to special groups that have helped us out are like this. And we're very thankful for the opportunity to come tonight. When I was at the golf tournament, there were 156, I think, golfers, and only 2 knew what we did. So Amy and a dear friend of ours, Kathy, her husband had just passed away. He was an Army combat medic, and he just passed away. And so we were here at the golf tournament, and it was really nice to see the community come together to help, the hospice and everything. So I guess that's about it. We do have a very unprofessional Facebook, but you'll see pictures after we go to an honor flight. If anybody ever wants to come to an honor flight and help pass out lap robes, we always have room for somebody there. We always meet the veteran when he comes out of, I think it's the diplomat area, and then we let them pick out the lap robe that they would like. And this time of year, quite a few are picking out fleece because it is getting cold. So thank you for letting me come tonight. We do meet at Jackie Lynn's on East Ridge Road. She lets us use her big room for free. We have a closet there that we keep our stuff in, and we have volunteers from Ontario, from Webster, from all over the place in the city. Our oldest veteran is 84 that helps us. We did teach, we have 6 men volunteers. Our 7th retired. He made our walker bags. He was 95 when he retired. He was from Williamson. So they come from all over to help us, and there's all different jobs to do. Some press, some sew on labels, some actually sew. But thank you for letting me come tonight.
Nancy, do you have a website or your Facebook?
Very small.
Okay.
Our Facebook is Lap Robes for Veterans.
Okay.
And I am married to a Marine, and my oldest served in the Air Force Desert Storm. And I know I was only given 5 minutes, but the reason I got started was because Vietnam veterans went to Washington, D.C. for the anniversary for the Vietnam Wall. And Wally, who not only served his country proudly as a Marine, it was the Marine Corps birthday, and he wanted to go to the Iwo Jima Memorial. And he was in a wheelchair, and it turned cold and drizzly like it did tonight. And we were all shielding him, and they were giving out heated fleece blankets to dignitaries that had long cashmere coats on. I know what a cashmere coat is because when my husband retired from the Marine Corps, he could afford to buy me one. And we could not get one for Wally. Wally's wife found something on the bus, but it was too late. He got cold and wet, and but he did what he wanted to do, and he came home, and the next day his body started shutting down, and 2 weeks before Christmas he passed away. So I said after that I was going to do whatever it took, and the first 3 years my husband and I funded the nursing homes that we did. And so I will go anywhere, to a church. I've been to churches, VFWs, American Legion posts, and speak. And this is my first town board meeting, so this is exciting for me.
Welcome, and
just so
thank
you
you
know,
for everything that you do.
We have received awards from Vietnam Veterans Chapter 20, the Community Service Award, also one from the Gold Star Mothers, and last year the Rochester Federation of Women's Club recognized us for our community service. So thank you.
Nancy, if anyone wanted to volunteer, would they just go to that website and there would be a link so they would be able to let you know?
When we put on, we usually meet Mondays at Jackie Lynn's, and we're there from 10 until, sometimes we have a 2 or 3 day so date. It's just whenever the room is not being rented out. But if they look at our Facebook, I always put when we're having a so date, and then if somebody does want to volunteer, they'll get on our email list. I have a few I have to call because they don't have email, they're older. And our youngest, I think, is a Air Force retired, well, she was 17 years in the Air Force, she's a nurse. She teaches at Nazareth College, nursing, and she's the youngest one. She still works, but she works during the summer, she volunteers, and she's at the airport, so.
Can you share that email?
Well, our Facebook.
We'll have the Facebook.
Right,
and
Lap Ropes for Veterans in Rochester, New York. And then if anybody wants to find out, the email would be nvanapeldoorn@gmail.com, and that's me. And we can hook you up with, if they want to volunteer, I have a volunteer coordinator. My administrative assistant lives in Canandaigua, and we have a wide group all in New York.
Okay.
So we do have a spin-off in Saranac Lake, but they're self-supporting, so.
Thanks.
Great,
Thank
great
you.
part of the country, being born and raised in Saranac Lake. It's near and dear to my heart.
Oh, well, I spoke at a Marine Corps quarterly meeting, and I met a retired lieutenant colonel, and she belongs to a Marine Corps league, and she went back and they provided the funds to get this group started, and they take care of one nursing home and then one drug rehab for veterans. So, and then we have a spin-off in Oklahoma, and they started their own. They were going to make them and send them to us, but it cost too much to send, so they gave out to ones in their church, and they've sort of spread out. But we've had phone calls from Florida, California, different states, so I wish every city had where they did something for their veterans, so. And I heard that you all do on Memorial Day, which I think is really great. So, thank you.
Nancy, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything that you do. All right, we will continue on with communications and announcements, and I'll recognize the town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf is projecting a higher than usual need of non-perishable foods for the rest of the year and preparing their support of Thanksgiving and holiday meals for those who are in need. The food shelf is a valuable resource to our community, making a big difference in so many lives each week. For a listing of the items needed at the food shelf, please go to PenfieldEcumenicalFoodShelf.org or call 234-0799. Donations can be made at the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf facility located at 1618 Jackson Road. Thank you in advance. And then I would also like to remind everyone that the Election Day will be held on Tuesday, November 6th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. throughout Monroe County. If you are unsure of which polling location to go to, please visit monroecounty.gov or call the Board of Elections at 585-753-1550. Voting is the cornerstone of democracy. Voting is a privilege and a right of each and every person. You should vote because every election matters. Vote because the choices you make matter. Who you choose on November 6th will have a serious impact on the life in your community. So please find time to vote on November 6th. Exercise your right to vote. And as always, due to Election Day, the mobile DMV office will not be available here at the Town Hall on November 6th, but will resume again at the Town Hall the following week on Tuesday, November 13th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. It's time to turn our clocks back 1 hour as daylight savings time is coming up on Sunday, November 4th at 2 a.m. While setting your clocks back, take the opportunity to do a quick and easy review of your household emergency safety plan. Testing the batteries in your smoke alarms and CO2 detectors is the first line of defense in escaping from a house fire or gas leak. Smoke alarms should be replaced every 10 years and should be on every floor of your home and in each sleeping area. Don't forget, turn the clocks back and test your alarms on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Metzler.
Thank you. I have one announcement this evening, a seasonal reminder from our Department of Public Works. Our DPW crew wishes to ask everyone to help keep fallen leaves and other debris out of the catch basins, yard inlets, and roadways. If you see a storm drain that is clogged with debris, please remove the items. Using a rake helps reach the debris without entering a roadway. The town performs a variety of maintenance activities through the year within the catch basins, and residential assistance on the other side is helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Join your friends and neighbors for the family Halloween event held this Friday, October 19th at the Penfield Community Center. Enjoy the following free activities from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Games, trick-or-treat, hay rides, crafts, music, and more. For details on this event, please visit penfieldrec.org. Also, the Penfield players will be holding their performance for the fall play, Joe DiPietro's Over the River and Through the Woods. Shows will be held in the coming weeks at the Community Center on Baird Road. Curtain call will be at 8 p.m. with a matinee performance on Sunday, November 4th at 2 p.m. For tickets, please visit penfieldplayers.org or call 340-8655 or purchase a ticket at the door at the evening of the event. Come enjoy Over the River and Through the Woods with the Penfield players beginning on October 26th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole?
I have two announcements. The Penfield Rotary's Fall Euchre Tournament will be held Sunday, October 21st at the Legacy at Willow Pond. Check-in time is at 2 p.m. The Rotary clubs host a tournament each fall and spring to help support the various community international service projects. Participation is limited to 100 players and prizes will be awarded. For complete details, go to penfieldrotary.org. And Legacy at Willow Pond is located off Route 441 east of Harris Wayland Park. And my other announcement is that my monthly community chat, the next one will be Tuesday, November 20th, 5:30 to 7, the new book area in the library. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I would like to give a shout out to the Penfield Little League. We found out that there was a unanimous vote by the Little League district administrators, and Penfield Little League has been awarded the 2019, 2020, 2021 New York State champions, 4 majors, 10, 11, and 12 years old, which essentially means that any team from New York that is going to play in Williamsport needs to come through Penfield in 2019, 20, and 21. So this is a big deal. I'd like to recognize Greg Camp, who is the current board president of Penfield Little League. All of the board members, this is great for them. It's great for the community, our businesses, and all of the parents of the young men and women that play part of Penfield Little League. So very nice honor, and congratulations to Penfield Little League. Okay, we'll move on to public participation. There are 2 opportunities to do that at this time, and again at the end of the meeting, or at the end of the agenda. You can do that one of 3 ways. If you're here in the audience, you can address the board at the podium. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log out at penfield.org. And then I'll recognize our clerk. Is anyone signed up to speak to the board?
No, I don't have that.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? Okay. Seeing none, again, there will be another opportunity at the end of the agenda. I'll next recognize Mr. Moore for additions, deletions to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would like to add one resolution to tonight's agenda, resolution number 18T-192, entitled Setting a Public Hearing to Consider Incentive Zoning for Final Site Plan Approval to allow a 4,500 square foot retail building and 5,000 square foot office building at 2146 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
second that.
It's been moved and seconded. That'll be added under new business, resolution number 192. We have 2 sets of minutes before us. Let's take each one of them individually. The first one is September 5th, 2018. Would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I move the minutes of September 5th be approved.
I'll second.
Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
And we have the September 12th, 2018 minutes, and would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I'll move those.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion on those minutes. Seeing none, a roll call vote for those minutes.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Since the last meeting, has the board, the town attorney, or the town clerk received a petition or petitions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolution by function. We'll start with resolutions under law and finance.
Adoption of final budgets for fiscal year 2019 for the town of Penfield.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the town board of the town of Penfield, having on the 3rd day of October 2018, commencing at 7 p.m., duly held a public hearing on the preliminary budget for fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2019. Whereas all requirements of Article 102 through 109 of the New York State Town Law for preparation and adoption of general highway and library budgets have been met. Whereas all requirements of Article 15 of the New York State Town Law for preparation and adoption of special district budgets have been met. Whereas in addition to the above legal requirements, a presentation of the 2019 tentative budget was made at the town board meeting on September 12th. Whereas all persons desiring to be heard on the matter of the budgets of the town of Penfield for fiscal year 2019 have fully been heard. Now therefore be resolved that final budgets for general, highway, and library funds in special districts be and the same are hereby adopted as the annual budgets for fiscal year starting January 2019, and such annual budgets as so adopted be entered in detail in the minutes of the proceedings of this town board, and the annual budgets made available for public inspection at the Penfield Town Clerk's office during normal business, as well as in the finance office of the town of Penfield and the public library on Baird Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion.
Mr. Supervisor, if I can, I just wanted to real quickly go over some points with this budget. First, I'd like to thank our Finance Director, Barbara Churto, who's in the audience today, for your efforts putting this budget together. This process starts probably about 4 to 5 months ago when we started meeting, or you started meeting with the supervisor, with each department head in the town, to start looking at what the 2019 budget would be. So this certainly is not something that gets put together in a couple weeks and presented in front of the town board. It takes a lot of time and energy, and I would like to commend you, Barbara, for your efforts in putting a good budget together, so thank you. Just a couple points on the 2019 budget. The tax rate moving into next year will be $2.78. And that's a 9-cent increase from where it was in 2018 at $2.69. And it's a 9-cent increase because the town residents passed a resolution at a vote on the Shadow Pines property to purchase the Shadow Pines property, which would cause a 9-cent increase in the budget or in the tax rate moving forward. And so when you look at the increase from 2018 to 2019, it is caused by the Shadow Pines referendum vote that was overwhelmingly supported, I believe, by 80% of the voters that came out for the town to purchase that land. And so the point I'm getting to is if you take that 9 cents away from the increase for Shadow Pines, we are not increasing the town tax rate at all under the dollar amount that we can control among this town board. And so the tax rate would remain at $2.69 that we control here, which is the same rate that it was last year and the year before, and then the 9 cents for the Shadow Pines increase that the voters of Penfield approved, which makes it $2.78. And so when you look at the $2.78 for 2019, an important statistic that I noticed in some of my research in preparation for tonight's vote is that $2.78 tax rate is lower than the tax rate in the town of Penfield back in 2005. And so it's 14 years ago that the tax rate was higher than the tax rate today. And I think that's a credit to the supervisor in keeping a real fiscal eye on what's going on with the town budget and the finances, revenues and expenditures, but also a commitment to the town board to really control costs as we move forward. And certainly, you know, I understand that the town board controls only about 8% of your entire tax bill in the town of Penfield. I mean, if you look at the different taxes that you pay, the property taxes, you have a school district tax, which comprises about 68% of your total property tax bill. You have the Monroe County property tax rate, which is about 24% of your total property tax bill. And then you have the town of Penfield at about 8% of that property tax bill. So this board right here controls only 8% of your total property tax bill. And I just wanted to make sure that the residents understood the differences when they pay their taxes on that. When you look at the town of Penfield as compared to the other 19 towns, it's really a great story that we have as far as where we stand compared to all 19 towns in Monroe County. Just for instance, the town of Riga has the lowest tax rate. It actually doesn't have a town tax rate because of the mill seat landfill in Riga, which basically covers all the town taxes. Then you have the town of Henrietta with the second lowest tax rate, with the commercial development there and certainly the industrial development in the town of Henrietta. That creates a very low tax rate. Town of Perrington would come next in third, lowest tax rate, but they have the High Acres landfill that contributes an annual amount, a sizable annual amount to the town, which allows them to have a low tax rate. Town of Penfield does not have an active landfill in here. And then you have the town of Parma and the town of Penfield at roughly 2.78. So we are basically the fifth lowest town of 19 towns in Penfield when you compare tax rates in different municipalities. Just kind of another perspective on that statistical data, the highest tax rate town would be the town of Irondequoit at roughly $6.51. Town of Penfield, again, is at $2.78. So that's a $3.73 difference between Penfield and Irondequoit, or an 80% difference. 80% lower our tax rate would be compared to the town of Irondequoit. When we look at fiscal responsibility and fiscal stress of municipalities throughout New York State and Monroe County, again, Penfield, I think, has done very well. I'm very proud of what we're doing here. The town credit rating is AA1 by Moody's Investors, an independent investment agency that does a lot of municipality credit rating assessments. And we are the second highest credit rating that Moody allows. There's 19 different grades that you can get, and I believe AAA? AAA, yeah, AAA is the highest, and we're AAA1, the second highest credit rating that you could get from a town. And so I think, again, that's a credit to the fiscal responsibility and discipline that we try to have in the town. Our finance director said it earlier, I believe, during our public information session and public hearing that we held a couple weeks ago. A New York State Comptroller's report came out a while ago and talked about fiscally stressed municipalities throughout New York State. You did not want to be on that list. Penfield was not on that list. Penfield had no designation, which means that we are in very good standing from the state comptroller's perspective. A lot of other towns in New York State could not say that, but we could. And again, I just go back and want to thank Barbara and thank the supervisor for your commitment to fiscal responsibility in managing the town's budget and funds. When you look at funding in this 2019 budget, the question arises, is there funding in there for Shadow Pines? And the answer is yes, there is. There is funding in the 2019 budget to maintain the lawn cutting or the lawn mowing of Shadow Pines, to maintain the Clark House to a reasonable level as we look to, look at different uses of the Clark House and what the public would like to see there. And so we will be able to maintain the grounds on the Shadow Pines. Now, as the supervisor said, it's not going to be cut like a golf course would be cut, and we're going to cut certain areas of that property to make it presentable, and we continue to clean not only the front 9, but I believe the town crews are going into the back 9, making sure the property is safe for public use. And it is open right now for walking and hiking, at least the front 9 is, and I think as we start to move into December and January, I believe the back 9 will be open for recreation use too. And so there is funding in the 2019 budget to maintain a level of maintenance on the Shadow Pines property moving forward. Also, I believe in my conversations with Chris Bilo, the recreation director for the town, there is adequate funding for recreation activities, not only for youth, but also for adults and for seniors. I believe that we have somewhere over 900 total programs offered to Penfield residents. That comprises youth, adults, and seniors, and I think that's something to be very proud of. The recreation programs continue to grow, and I think that's a good thing for this town. And I'd like to credit Chris Bilo and his staff over at the community center and the recreation department for always being proactive on programs and seeing what other programs can be offered to Penfield residents. And I've said this before, and I believe it to be true, the recreation department is in far better shape today than it has been in the past, and I think Chris Bilo and his staff deserves a lot of credit for that. Bunny, you're here in the crowd. We see you every single time we have a budget meeting. Bunny is our library director. Again, thank you very much. As a father of 2 young children, we are consistently in the library looking at books and tapes and those type of things, and it is truly a tremendous facility. You do a great job. Your staff does a great job. And I am confident that the funding in this budget is satisfactory to keep that library in great shape and moving forward for what the future entails. Community events will be funded. One of our very best events all year that I know everybody looks forward to is 4th of July fireworks celebration. We've been very fortunate with some great weather for that, and thousands of Penfield residents are there, and we'll have full funding to maintain 4th of July events. Our amphitheater series concerts, jazz series, kids concerts, Taste in the Blues events that we have every year, and other type of special activities at the amphitheater are funded moving into 2019. And then also our special events at the community center, seasonal events such as the Halloween celebration, Christmas celebration, Easter, things like that are fully funded moving forward. So I'm very confident that the budget maintains what it needs to keep those programs alive and well and providing those programs for the residents here in Penfield. Penfield Community Television, Dave Renner and his team downstairs, who are responsible for the public seeing these meetings and planning board meetings and zoning board meetings, and then also our work session meetings every week. They put in a lot of hours. Funding is there to maintain that level of commitment to transparency and provide information to the residents of Penfield. Dave, I'd like to thank him and his staff for their efforts in maintaining quality public programming. Not a lot of towns can say that. And I've looked at other town websites, and there is absolutely no doubt that the town of Penfield's website and our capabilities of providing these meetings televised, well, not only televised, but also live streamed through penfield.org, so somebody in Florida could be watching this meeting, or somebody in California could be watching this meeting right now. You don't just have to be in the town of Penfield. And so Dave Renner and his team and this board have made the commitment to continue that into 2019, and I'm very proud of that. So with that, Mr. Supervisor, I know I said a lot, and I apologize. But I really think it's something that I'm proud of moving forward, something that I wanted to make sure that the residents of the town were aware of, and I will be supporting this budget, and thank you for putting together another good budget for the residents of the town of Penfield. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Other comments?
Well said.
I know, that was excellent. I can't say much more after Andy gave the overview of everything in the budget. And of course, thanks again to Barbara and to Tony and all the town employees for putting together the budget and keeping it low as expected. And, you know, Shadow Pines, the public wanted it. And I went on a site walk with the advisory committee yesterday. And, you know, the enthusiasm for that parcel and the commitment to the people there, it's totally worth the 9 cents, I believe, and I think the residents of Penfield feel that same way. So, thank you for the budget. Well done.
Thank you. I'll just like to say thank you. Bunny's here to kind of represent her colleagues and all the other department heads. We're very fortunate that we have the quality people that we have in our departments and as our department heads. It makes our job a lot easier. I think I've mentioned since Barbara has been here, this is her third budget that she's been involved with. And what I'll say is that each year it gets a little bit easier. And so thank you, Barbara. Bunny, thank you to you and to your colleagues for all the hard work. And Sebastian, I know that she's worked so hard that you should consider taking her on a short vacation. So thank you for that. All right, seeing no further comments, I would ask for a roll call vote on the 2019 budget.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you.
2018 budget transfers, recreation and town court.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the town justices require additional funding for upcoming trial expenses, whereas additional funding is needed for postage, and whereas the town board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to current incomes and expenditures. Now therefore be it resolved that the 2018 budget transfers be approved. From regular contingency to court stenographer for $2,000, from regular contingency to postage for $6,000.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Granting a conditional use permit and preliminary and final site plan approval to allow a 4,692 square foot veterinarian hospital at 1467 Empire Boulevard.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit and preliminary and final site plan approval pursuant to Chapters 250-59B1K and 250-13.8 of the Code to allow a 4,692 square foot veterinarian hospital at 1467 Empire Boulevard. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on October 3rd, 2017, on said date to consider the application and to hear all persons interested in this application. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request for the issuance of a conditional use permit and preliminary and final site plan approval pursuant to Chapters 250-5.9B1K and 13.3 of the Code to allow this veterinarian hospital at 1467 Empire Boulevard be granted subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to note there are 20 conditions. All 20 conditions are consistent with what has been discussed at our most recent work session meeting and at the public hearing, and I would like to move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider issuance of a conditional use permit to allow a gold and antique jewelry store at 1833 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit to Chapter 250-5.10-D1 of the Code to allow a gold and antique jewelry store at 1833 Penfield Road in the Four Corners zoning district. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on November 7th, 2018 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider said application and to hear all persons interested in the issuance of this conditional use permit to allow a gold and antique jewelry store at 1833 Penfield Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Granting approval of a conditional use permit to allow live music in the outdoor dining area at K2 Brewery located at 1221 Empire Boulevard.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit to allow live music in the outdoor dining area of K2 Brewery at 1221 Empire Boulevard in the LaSalle Landing District. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on September 5th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to consider said application and to hear all persons interested in the issuance of this permit allowing live music in an outdoor dining area at K2 Brewery at 1221 Empire Boulevard, and a public hearing was closed and a decision was reserved. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request to allow live music in outdoor dining area of the K2 Brewery is hereby granted subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are roughly 4 conditions, and these are all consistent with the LaSalle Landing zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement to allow pavement within a sanitary sewer easement at 410 and 414 Maryview Drive.
Moved.
Second.
Be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield is hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a hold harmless agreement for the property owners at 410 Maryview Drive and the owners of 414 Maryview Drive to permit pavement to be installed within a sanitary sewer easement to the Town of Penfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. See no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Advertising for bids for a Phase 2 replacement of a portion of the roof at the community center.
So moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to advertise in the manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals to furnish the Town of Penfield Department of Public Works with the following: Phase 2 of the replacement of the roof at the Penfield Community Center. Now therefore be it further resolved that the replacement of a portion of the roof at the community center covered by such proposals shall be in accordance with specifications prepared by the Director of Public Works. Sealed proposals are to be received in the office of the Town Clerk until November 9, 2018 at 11 a.m., and then and there to be opened and read publicly by the Town Clerk.
Thank you. Discussion. See no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization to sign an intermunicipal agreement for snow and ice control services between the Town of Penfield and Monroe County Department of Transportation.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the Monroe County Department of Transportation owns, operates, and maintains a highway system in the Town of Penfield, and whereas the county desires to enter into an agreement with the town for snow removal and salting and treating county roads for the purpose of removing the danger of snow and ice, and whereas the town has appropriate snow and ice removal equipment and sufficient snow and ice control personnel to contract with the county for the snow and ice control services. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign an intermunicipal agreement for snow and ice control services between the town of Penfield and the Monroe County Department of Transportation for the dates October 1, 2018 through September 30, 2023. This agreement is to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney.
Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This authorizes the town supervisor to sign one recreation contract, and it's for an instructor for the Tai Chi program.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
This brings us to old business. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, new business, and recognize the clerk for new business number 192.
Setting a public hearing to consider incentive zoning for final site plan approval to allow a 4,500 square foot retail building and a 5,000 square foot office building at 2146 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board pursuant to 255-8 and 250-12.2 of the code to consider an application for incentive zoning and final site plan approval for the development of a 4,500 square foot retail building and a 5,000 square foot office building on 1.45 acres in the non-business retail zoning district at 2146 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road. Whereas the application has been requested and received preliminary and final subdivision and site plan approval from the town board on October 15, 2014 for the development of a 6,000 square foot retail building which has been constructed, and preliminary site plan approval for a 4,080 square foot retail building and a 5,000 square foot office building. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield will hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on November 7th, 2018 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider the application and to hear all persons interested in the consideration and question of this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. This brings us to our second public participation. You can do that if you're here in the audience. Again, you can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. And I see Rose Hanscom in the audience and would recognize her for public participation.
Hi, my name is Rose Hanscom. I live at 145 Anytrail, town of Penfield. So last Saturday, which was October the 13th, we came home from visiting our son in Syracuse, and we exited our car, and it was like there was a rock band in our backyard. And so we first looked at the neighbors, and we figured, oh no, maybe it's a neighbor. It wasn't any of the neighbors. We discovered as we went traveling that the music was coming from Baytown. And apparently they had a tent, an outdoor tent, and rock bands playing, or bands playing, live music playing. This was about 7:30 at night, and we saw very few people there, actually. It was just the band playing. And we were under the understanding that, according to the property maintenance agreement, which I have a copy of, that any outdoor speaker systems, any outdoor amplifications were prohibited, and the tenants would agree that no such devices would be allowed. So we don't know if they got permission to come before the board to have that event. It was apparently a fundraising event. Apparently they had it also last July. There have been amplification systems going on with movie night. There's been other bands playing there throughout the summer. Enough's enough. This was our last straw because this was so loud. It was like, what is happening? Now, I don't know if they're coming to get permission to have these things with you all, but it specifically states, and I have copies of this if you'd like to reread it again.
We have copies. Certainly, if you'd like to give a copy to the clerk, Rose, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. That as part of the rezoning, this property maintenance agreement had to be agreed to.
Sure.
And it said that the tenants would agree that no such devices would be used. So we're not sure what's happening. We really would like to know.
Okay. So we'll have to do a little research. They have not come into us specifically into this board. What I'll need to do is to check to see if they applied for a special permit through the building department. They can do that. Property owners can do that a couple of different times during the course of the year. So I'm going to have to go back and speak with planning and code enforcement to see if in fact they did in fact apply for a permit, and if they didn't, then we'll have to have a conversation back with the property owners to say that that is not permitted. I have not heard, with the exception of this evening, I had not heard of a problem or an issue with music at that site.
The street of Shop Street was
Okay.
closed off. There was a huge white tent, so from a fire point of view, I honestly can't believe the fire marshal would agree to that. They had huge fires going and, in a pit. And then the next day, we went to see if the tent was down in the street of Shops. There were cones preventing traffic from going there. In fact, there was almost an accident because one car attempted to turn and the cones were there. This property maintenance agreement is constantly being violated. I mean, I'm sending emails to you and to the
Mark Valentine.
Yeah, please, thank you. Regarding the noise, and the rezoning is a real sensitive subject for all of us anyways, and it still traumatizes me. That's why I don't come. I'm sorry, but I don't. For that reason, it's just very hard to participate, because we participated till our hearts were, worn on our sleeve, and this was something we really count on. And I'm sorry, but the tenants, if they are aware of this, should not be having live music. I mean, basically, it shouldn't be happening. I mean, these are the conditions set for the rezoning. At the very least, this could be abided by. The sweeping trucks can obey the laws. We've called the police many times. I carry this in my car to show the police as they meet me there. Look, this is the property maintenance agreement. I'm not making this up.
Right.
I shouldn't have to do that. But the music was the last straw, so we really would appreciate you looking into it.
So that was last Saturday, the 13th.
Correct.
At around 7:30 p.m.
It was all day. It started at 2 o'clock. According to their advertisement, it was the Witchcraft Brewery putting it on. I started
okay.
from 2 o'clock to question mark. Apparently, they had something like this based on their Facebook page on July the 7th. Luckily, we were out of town. But they have been having movie nights on the lawn, and it's not so much the movie, because you can let that go, but they have music that plays before the movie plays. Those are huge outdoor speakers. I don't know. It's hard. And, and then when I came to talk about this, and I saw that you were approving this live music at K2 Brewery, one of the conditions is that it not leave the confines of the property. That's what I asked. Please don't leave the confines of their property. I know it's huge, but I'd like to live in peace where I live.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking.
All right, we'll take a look at that, Rose, and find out if a special permit was issued, and if not, then code enforcement will have to have a conversation not only with the plaza owner, but then also Witchcraft, if Witchcraft was kind of the
Yeah, they were the ones that
source.
sponsored, correct. So when you say a special permit, so are they going to be allowed in the future to do this with special permits even though the property maintenance agreement says no.
Well, we have to, you know, the issue around the property maintenance agreement, that'll be something that we'll have to, you know, bring back to the property owner, DeMarco, excuse me, the DeMarcos, and then DeMarcos will have to then make sure that all of their tenants are aware of that. I would hope that, you know, at the very least, that Witchcraft Brewery just didn't go off and do this on their own without checking. But again, until I find out and see what, you know, has or hasn't happened. And I know that, you know, Mark Valentine and Jim Costello have copies, excuse me, have copies of that property maintenance. And we need to make sure that our building and code enforcement have that as well.
Yeah.
So I will, I'll take a look at it and drop a note back to you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yep.
And it's good to see
Absolutely.
you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Rose. Thank you. I don't see anyone else in the audience. And there being no further business before the board, the October 17th, 2018 legislative session of the town board stands adjourned at 8:02 p.m. Thank you for everyone that participated. Thank you to Penfield TV.